In this video we'll show you how we can import a DXF file and then put some dimensions on it and make some changes to it. So I've started the CAD system and this is the DXF file that's been imported. Now one thing to look at is where the datum point is. So when this DXF file was created, the datum was in this top right hand corner here where you see these two witness lines. That's the XY0 position. Now that may be where you want it for machining, or you may need to set up a different datum position. So I'll show you how to do that first. On a shape like this that doesn't have any dimensions on, we don't know how big the part is and we don't know where the centre of it is, if that's where you wanted a datum position to be. But that doesn't matter too much. So what we'll do is we'll just use some basic line drawing techniques to find the centre position. So if we go into line, we'll choose an angled line. What that will do is it will draw a line at the current angle. The default is 0 degrees, and it draws a line right across the page. Now what we want to do is draw a line but pick up the very topmost point of this shape here. So to do that we go into near snap, and then the line will snap onto the nearest element that it can find to the cursor. Now we do the same thing below. Now we use the properties item here to change the angle of the line to 90 degrees. We do the same thing here, leftmost part, rightmost part. Now if we create a normal line, which is a line drawn between 2 points, then we can draw 2 diagonals between the box that we've created to find the centre. So to do that we need to go into intersect snap. So the system will pick up the intersection point here for one end of the line and then the next end of the line. Now we can press escape to draw a new line and then choose the beginning of that line and the end of that line. So where those two lines cross here, that can be where we set our datum. So to do that we use the datum symbol here, and we want to specify a new datum with the mouse. So we're still in intersect snap, so it will snap onto the intersect point that it finds closest to the cursor. So that has now reset the datum position to the centre of the component. Now we can use the delete key to just get rid of those lines that we no longer need. You can leave them there, but it's best just to delete them. Okay, so now we need to put some dimensions on here to find out how big the part is. So if we choose dimension, and then we'll choose the horizontal style. Normally what this needs is just for you to indicate the line that you want to dimension and then position the leader line and the text line. Well, that's okay, but that's not quite what we want, and also we can't see the text very well there. So if we just undo that and go to the text style gallery, then we can set up a new text style. So what we'll do is we'll set up a new text style and we'll call it dim text, and we'll select that and make it current, and then we'll change the size here to 25mm. Okay, so now when we choose dimension, we'll get it to use that text style by using the properties box, text style, and we'll say dim text that we just created. So now when we put the dimension on, we can see it more clearly. Okay, that's okay, but it still doesn't give us what we want, so let's undo that. So what we do now is we'll stay with the horizontal style of dimensioning, but we need to dimension between 2 points. So to get the system to search for points rather than lines or arcs or anything else, we need to select near snap, and then holding down the shift key indicate the first point and then the second point, release the shift key, and then the dimension can be wherever you want it to be. Now we can do the same thing for the vertical dimension. Hold down the shift key once, keep holding the shift key twice, and now release and position the leader line and the text box where you need it to be. So we can continue and we can find any of the parts of this that we need to dimension. For instance, if we wanted to find out the size of this radius, identify the radius, where we want the leader line to be, and where we want the text to appear. Okay, so that's put some dimensions on there. So let's consider that we want to modify part of this drawing. So what we'll do, for instance, if we just zoom in on this center area here, we might wish to create a fillet radius on this corner here. So to do that, we'd use fillet. The second option from the options menu here is clip items. So the lines that are no longer required when the fillets are drawn will be deleted, and we'll use the properties box to set the size of the fillet. Okay, so now we can just put the fillet in where we want it to be. Okay, so we can do that. Now what we'll do is let's put a dimension on this small part here. Okay, now supposing we wanted to move or otherwise modify this section of that cut in. So what we can do is use the move command, and if we move an area, then we can click and drag the mouse around the area that we're interested in, and then it asks us to choose a point, click a reference point. So we go into near snap and click that as the reference point, and now we can move that point somewhere else. Now that's okay, but we might want to move it an exact amount. So to do that, we come down into the command window here. So let's say move that y minus 3 millimeters. So the text at the moment is 6.274. When I press the enter key, it updates the drawing and updates the associative dimensioning at the same time. Going on from that, let's think that we might want to do something with this line here. We could choose line, and then we could choose a parallel line, click on the line, and then create a line parallel to that. In this case it will be generally below our selection. So that's created a new line there. Now if we want to trim the existing lines that we've got to this new line, we would use the intersect command and then choose clip items. And when you're using the intersect chamfer or fillet command, you're always indicating the parts of the lines or elements that you want to keep. So in this case then, there's only this part of the line that exists, so we click that, and the part of this line that I want to keep is down here. So we do the same thing here. Imagine an intersection point there, so I want to keep this part of that horizontal line and that part of that. Okay, so that's done that. Again, we can delete this line out that's no longer required. If we left it there, it wouldn't do any harm. You can do the same type of operation on an arc. So if you have an arc and you want to change it or make an arc parallel to it, then you can click on it and you can enter a new size for the new arc that we created, and you can use the same techniques to create to trim the lines to where they need to be. Again, we can go into here. As we zoom in, you'll notice that that dimension we chose, this top line here, is not parallel, so we would need to make sure that when we're dimensioning this, we pick up this point rather than this point over here to give us a true size for that part. Okay, so that's the basics of importing a DXF, setting the datum point, putting some dimensions on and modifying the drawing.